Okay. All right. Om Jnana Timirandasha Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshuru Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurube Namaha. So we're continuing our study of chapter 2 Bhagavad Gita. So just a little recap of what we discussed last class. Arjuna's initial questions have been answered concerning his confusion about his self-identity and his confusion concerning what is his duty in the world. In 2.7, he expressed these two concerns, which I've termed them as the inner and outer conflict. The inner conflict being an existential one, the outer conflict being an ethical one. So he was having these two confusions. These are generally the confusions that we encounter in the material world. The who am I question and what am I to do question. These are the two problems that are met. So Krishna answers these two questions sequentially by first saying that you're not this body, but you're a spiritual entity inside the body. That solves all the existential issues, technically. Or idealistically. Of course, coming to the point of realizing that it's a little bit more challenging than just saying it as a mantra. And then he solved the ethical problem by saying you should do the activity that corresponds to your psychological disposition, the coloring of your mind. So how do you actually realize this spiritual position of the self? And how do you use your psychophysical tabernacle? This word tabernacle, that's a good word. It means like basically the body. I'm smart. How do you use this body in such a way that you can realize the self? So basically, that is now what Krishna is speaking about in this last passage, or the passage 38 to 53. So he says, I will now speak of Buddha Yoga. Later on, Krishna will refer to this Buddha Yoga as Karma Yoga. But here we'll see why Krishna is referring to it as Buddha Yoga. He said, I will now speak of this Buddha Yoga. And he glorified this Buddha Yoga in contrast with the material activities in the conventional world. He basically mentions 4 points. These are just review points from the last class, just catching people up. He says the first point about this Buddha Yoga is that it can free you from karma bondage. So we talked about what is karma bondage, right? You understand what is karma bondage. We do some activity, that activity produces some fruit. So you have to enjoy that fruit. If you do vicious activity, then you get to taste bitter fruits. If you do virtuous activities, then you get to taste sweet fruits. So in your life, you're tasting sometimes bitter fruits, and sometimes more bitter fruits, and sometimes most bitter fruits. And occasionally you get a little sweetness. So that is due to the experience, the actions you've performed in this life or in previous lives. So this is called karma bondage. You're bound to taste those fruits, whether they're good or bad. So he says by this Buddha Yoga, you can become free from this karma bondage. That was the first point. The second point, he says that there is no, There is no loss if this Buddha Yoga is incomplete. In material affairs, unless you complete it to the end, it's basically like you wasted your time. There was this show, what was this show called? Oh, I don't remember the name of this TV show. When I was growing up, where you would like do stupid stuff for a check. Like, what was the name of that show?
There's also
Fear Factor. I think it was Fear Factor. Yeah, eat maggots, and also for going to a tank full of sharks to get some. I'm like, y'all crazy. For $50,000, I'm like, that's your life is worth $50,000. They would do crazy things like this. So I forgot why I brought that point because I was so much trying to remember what was the show that I lost my. So anyway, yes, and if you join the show Fear Factor, there are only one winner. So unless you complete all the assignments and win the show, then it was like you wasted your time. You risked your life and almost died for nothing. So material affairs are like this. But Krishna says this Buddha yoga is different. Even if the work is incomplete, there is no loss. And that is the second point. The third point is there is no diminution, means that if it is imperfectly performed or there is some discrepancy in its performance, then there isn't a negative reaction for that. Unlike in material affairs, like if you're working some job and you make some major discrepancy, you'll be fired immediately. So that is the nature of material things. So he said Buddha yoga is not like this. And the last point, he says that this Buddha yoga, if you apply it, even a little bit, swapam api asya dharmasya, then it will protect you from the great fear. Trayate mahato bhaya. And what is a great fear? Become an animal. For this culture, that was a great fear. In the West, they don't mind. they hear, yes, they hear about reincarnation, and they think it is very nice. I'll become a bird. I'll become a tiger. Oh, that would be very nice. If you see these old Hare Krishna films, there is one where the devotees are at the Ratha Yatra festival sharing about reincarnation. And there are people saying, oh, I want to be a tiger, saying something very positive. But in Vedic culture, this is the great fear, to become an animal, and you lose the opportunity for spiritual elevation. So in this way, by these 4 points, Krishna has extolled this Buddha yoga in order to encourage us to take up its performance. So then after that, he describes why is he calling this as Buddha yoga? Because the buddhi is very important in the application of spiritual development. You need good buddhi. Most of us, as we say, have nasti buddhi. That means the non-existence of spiritual intelligence. So you need a proper buddhi in order to make spiritual progress. We didn't mention this last time, but it's probably important to mention it here, just especially for those who are joining or who may be new to this sort of thinking. But the understanding the relationship between the senses, the mind, and the intelligence. They have this image that is used. In the Bhagavad Gita also, there may be some image, you can see it, of the charioteer of the mind, they call it. So you have the senses of the horses, like Mustangs. Mustang is like a very hard horse to subdue, I think, right? I always imagine the senses are like that. You see the rodeo and the horses are like this, and you sing like this. So the senses are like that, Mustangs. And then the reins represent the mind, often pulled by the senses toward the material world. And the driver of the chariot is compared to the intelligence. So if the driver is very weak or indecisive, then what happens? What happens? Huh? The carriage go. Why does the carriage go off? Because the horses are crazy. And if you don't know how to subdue them, then the horses will pull the mind, the reins, and the intelligence will be finished. So you need a very sharp intelligence in order to keep the mind from deviating you from your highest objective, in this case, spiritual life. And so therefore he calls it as Buddha yoga. So if the buddhi is not very strong, then you'll not be able to do this. For this reason, they have this Gita class. We have Gita classes, we have Bhagavatam class. All these things are for sharpening intelligence. Otherwise, it's very easy for the intelligence to get weak because the mind is always agitating. Chanchalam himana Krishna pramati balabhatritam. The mind is, chancha means it's fickle. I'm sure you have daily experience. All of us do. And it is pramati. Pramati means irritating. Isn't it how irritating? I always, when I hear this word pramati, which means to agitate or irritate, I always get this image of like a parent having like some grown folks talk, and the kid is just like, mommy. And the mom is like intentionally ignoring, the kid just like keeps pressing, and then the mom, what? So the mind is also like this. It keeps agitating until finally you give it some energy and you deviate. You have experience? I mean, maybe it's not funny, but this is real. The mind always pressing. And then buddhi, if you have your strong buddhi, you can just say, sit down. And then, but most of us are like, okay, In fact, it doesn't have to do even much. Just one, okay, what is it? Just one little suggestion, and we're like deviated fully from our objective. So therefore, Buddha yoga. And if you want to progress in spiritual life, you need to have strong buddhi. So then Krishna contrasts the buddhi of one on the path of Buddha Yoga or Karma Yoga, as he will later call it, from that person who is on the path of material life. So he said in the path of Buddha Yoga, the intelligence is resolute. He will elaborate on that a little bit later. And then he says for those on the material path, their intelligence is many branch. And why is the intelligence many branch? Because it is pulled by unlimited desires. Right? All the senses are pulling it towards the material world. And the intelligence is trying to discriminate how to satisfy all those desires. Bahu shaka hiyanantascha. Buddhayo avyavasarina. So that is a distinction between the different intelligences on these different paths, the path of material life and the path of yoga or Buddha Yoga in this case. So we also covered that point. So then Krishna gives an elaboration on what he means by irresolute intelligence. Do you remember that? We were making a list. What is irresolute? He basically can be summed up in 244, which was like the essence of what it means to have an irresolute intelligence. Some of you may already be knowing this verse. Bhogaishwarya pasaktanam taya aprahita chetasam. Right? Irresolute intelligence means what? Interest in bhoga and interest in aishwarya. Bhoga means enjoyment. We want to enjoy, isn't it? Anyone here not want to enjoy? You not want to enjoy? You want to enjoy? You want to enjoy? So everyone is having this. And then in order to enjoy, you need aishwarya. Aishwarya means power. You cannot enjoy unless you have power. Right? Whatever enjoyment you can think of. Food, you need power of digestion. If you want to enjoy Great America, you need money. I don't know why I think about that, but I think as a kid, not being able to go to Great America because it was expensive. So if you want to enjoy, you need power of some kind. If you want to enjoy sex life, you need power there also. So Bhoga and Aishwarya becomes an interest of the irresolute intelligence. That is the essence of it. They're attached to that. Taya aprahita chetasam. And because of that attachment, their consciousness is always pulled by the glorification of material things. The slightest suggestion of some how you can enjoy, how you can get power, then we become immediately infatuated, isn't it? Just like now, the class is going on, and it's a little hard. You have to concentrate and hear the, especially I don't have the board. I can't make funny drawings today. I have to buy my own whiteboard because somehow I got misplaced. So now you have to actually concentrate. A little challenging. Then as soon as someone says cheesecake, class is finished. The body will be here, but the mind will go elsewhere. For the rest of the class, you're just like, just waiting. And then as soon as I say, namaste or Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, I like blink and everyone's gone, looking for that cheesecake boy. So like this, the slightest suggestion of some material glorification and the mind is deviated. Samadho navidiyate. One cannot attain steadiness of mind. So you need strong buddhi. This is Krishna's elaboration on the irresolute. Now he wants to elaborate on what it means to have resolute intelligence, which was the specific glorification of the Buddha yogi. So what does that mean? And so now we're going to discuss that. This is 247 through 53. We'll just discuss some of the main points here, what it means to have resolute intelligence. This will complete our list making for the passage. So this is 247. I wonder if there's a way to share any too. 247, 248. What does it mean to have resolute intelligence? This is being described here. Very famous verses, actually. Karma neva dikareste ma paleshu kadachana ma karma palahetur bhur mate sango astu akarmani. So this is a translation here. You have a right to perform your prescribed duty, but you are not entitled to the fruits of action. Never consider yourself the cause of the results of your activities, and never be attached to not doing your duty. So this Buddha Yoga has about, let's say, 3 elements here, basically. The first one is karmani eva adhikaraste. Karma here refers to the swadharma we discussed earlier. Remember this word swadharma? We have very big discussion on that word swadharma. Swadharma or varna dharma, the division of society in terms of the intellectuals, the martial class, the entrepreneurs or agrarian types, and the laborers. So this is called a swadharma or karma in this verse. Karma neva adhikariste. You have adhikar for doing karma. So this word is the only time it comes up here in the Gita, adhikar. Adhikar means qualification. So everyone here has different type of adhikar. Just like if you want to go to a nice school, you need a certain adhikar to get in. Suppose I want to go to Harvard. So my ACT score was not very good. I'm not going to share what the score was, but it wasn't very good. So if I show up to Harvard talking about, yeah, I'd like to go here, and they're like, well, what was your ACT score like? And I give them the score, which I'm not going to say because it's embarrassing. Then they will not let me in because I don't have the ID card to enter into that place. So you need ID card for doing things. Just like nowadays, people call themselves as yogis. They say, I'm a yogi. But they don't ever talk about the ID card to be a yogi. Christian will talk about this ID card later on, what it really takes to be a yogi. Unless you hear about the ID card, you have no interest in it. Just like nowadays, people, I remember one was being criticized by some boys at the university that you were just a lazy fellow living in the monastery. And I said, why you should be envious? You can also join. And I said, only thing you have to do is wake up in the morning at 4 o'clock, chant 16 rounds, and follow these 4 regulative principles. And I went to the list. And the first one I said was no illicit sex. He said, no, thank you. No ID card. To do that sort of life, you need a certain ID card. As soon as you hear about the ID card, you lose interest. So this word ID card is very important word, actually. What do you have qualification for? Here, Krishna is saying you have ID card for karma. So you have ID card for doing your duty according to your psychological disposition here. But that duty should be done in a very particular way. So these are the 3 elements that constitute a resolute buddhi that we heard about in 241. The first one is ma paleshu kadachana. You're not entitled to the fruits of your activity. So this is very difficult on a practical level. When you work job, why do you work job? So you can give the fruits away, right? To someone else to enjoy, isn't it? You work job so you can give the fruits to someone else to enjoy, isn't it? Yes. You enjoy like that? You think like this? Let me work 12 hours, sometimes working 12 hours. Some people here I know, well, yeah, work many hours. Yes?
I was just thinking that one really helpful thing that you told me a while ago, Gorshan also said, was like, forget what you've done for others. That's so helpful because it just brings that, it's so easy to get caught up in like what we deserve and like, okay, I've done X, Y, and Z, so now I get this back. It just brings that element of detachment. At least we can try.
Forget what you've done for others. I don't mind forgetting until they do something to cross me. And then immediately I'm like, I did this, and that's how you treated me? Okay, I see you now. So it requires a strong, resolute buddhi to do that. So to that point, unless your buddhi is resolute, how you can do like this? This is what is being brought up here. So you have adhikar for karma, but the first point is you're not entitled to the fruits of activity. What to do with those fruits we'll discuss later, but first of all, you should appreciate this. When you're working job, what is the fruit of the job? Money. So if someone says you're not entitled to that, how you feel about that? I work 12 hours. I'm sure as hell entitled to this. Isn't it? You would feel like that? Yeah, I'm not entitled to the money. Actually, you keep it. You would feel like that? No. Ma paleshu kadachana. So this is the first element of karma yoga, that you're not entitled to the fruit of the activity. Ma karma pala hetu bur. And this is the other characteristic. This is a very interesting one that we'll elaborate upon in chapter 3. But you are not the agent of the activity. It's very hard to understand that you're not the agent of the activity. And what does Krishna precisely mean when he says this? He kind of brought this up a little bit earlier in the chapter when he says that you can't be the killer of the soul, nor can the soul be killed. Neither think yourself the agent of killing, nor what's the opposite? The object of killing? Agent and the object of killing. So if someone, that's like, suppose I hit you with a bat. And I said, I didn't do that because I'm not the doer, according to Bhagavad Gita. How do you feel about that? Huh? Angry? No, you say, I'm not the doer either. And then a fight breaks out and no one's doing anything. And then, of course, the rest of us are watching no one do anything, according to our philosophy. So, how does one understand that one is not the agent of activity? That is also very interesting. This will be elaborated on in chapter 3 when Krishna's going to expound on karma yoga. But this is the other element of this resolute buddhi, that one is meditating, that I'm doing the activity according to my psychology, but I'm not entitled to the fruit of the activity. I am also not the agent of this activity. Also, Mate-san goes to us to harmony. One should also not be attached to not doing the duty.
What do you mean by agent?
Agent means just like now when you walk, you think, I am walking, isn't it? When you just ask that question, you think, I am asking the question. So Krishna is saying, you are not the agent of the question that you've just asked or the walking to the temple. So that very, what? How am I not the agent? So what does that mean? We'll have to pull upon that. We'll see Krishna describe that later in chapter 3, verses 27 and 28. What he precisely means about not being the agent. So this is going to be a huge topic of the Bhagavad Gita, agency. And how do you become detached from the sense of agency? If you're looking for a more practical way of thinking about it, oftentimes we think that without me, things cannot function. There's a practical way in which this sense of agency works. If I wasn't there, then how would things go on without me? I remember when I first moved into the temple in Chicago. So our temple we didn't have like outstanding examples of, let's say, monks, monastic life. So when I came in, I was young and idealistic, and I was like, I'm pretty sincere. I'm like kind of exalted. Not like, I mean, I'm not like pure devotee yet, but give me another year or two, and I'll be good to go. So I remember, and I was doing a lot of service in the monastery at that time. And I remember when I left the monastery for going to New Vrindavan, one of our other monasteries in West Virginia, I left for a month. And I was thinking, how will things go on without me? Because I was doing so much there and I was being very responsible. And I was thinking, how will things go on without me? So after 1 month, one of the other senior monks living in Chicago came to pick me up from New Vrindavan. And we were driving back to Chicago in the car. So I was asking, so how is everything going on with that, thinking like it probably was a disaster situation. So I was like, how is everything going on in Chicago? And the boy said, oh, it's going on just fine. Everything's wonderful. And I was very disheartened to hear that because I was thinking that without me, how would things go on? This is a practical way in which the sense of agency plays itself out on a day-to-day basis. But we'll see how Krishna, what he means by this is actually, it goes deeper than even that sense of thinking things can't go on without me. It's something that you're going to have to really, really sit with to get it, because it's very subtle. And we'll see how Krishna elaborates on that. But at least you understand these are the 3 elements of karma yoga or buddha yoga being mentioned here, or resolute intelligence. The first one is that, number 1, you do your duty. That itself requires resolute intelligence. Be responsible. Don't follow the ways of your thoughts. Just like our shaman, she shared this thing on her Instagram. Don't believe everything you think. I love that. It's so good, because it's hard to follow that. Don't follow the ways of your thoughts, but do your duty. This is the first element. The second element, you're not doing your duty so you can get the fruit. That's already a change in mentality, because the general way of conditioned life is you do action and get the fruit of the action. So you're not doing the duty to get the fruit. The third element is, I am not the agent of the action. There are other factors at play, other energies at play, and then we're going to hear about that more. Verse 48, and this is a very important verse for those of you who like to learn verses. This is a verse worth learning. Yoga sta kuru karmani sangam takta dinanjaya siddhya siddhyo samabhutva samatonyuka uchate. It's kind of a reiteration of 247. It's just a further elaboration of the same point. But you should do your kuru karmani. You should do your duty. Yoga sta, standing in yoga. Do your activity standing in yoga. So what does he mean to stand in yoga? Sangam taktva. You should be, taktva means to give, this word, sangam taktva, this phrase you should remember. It's going to come up a lot in the Gita. Sangam taktva means to give up sangha. And the word sangha means association. But the word sangha also means attachment. So give up, what is the attachment? There's two types of attachment. Attachment number one, to the fruit of activity, the money, or you hold the door open for someone. And when you're looking for that thank you, right? Boy, I tell you, that one irritates me like anything. In New York, you hold the door open for someone, and they just walk through. I'm like, how to, you know, I started like imagining myself like tripping them. That just shows you how attached you get to the fruit. You know, I'm doing a nice deed. It should be reciprocated. You know, can I get a thank you? You know, of course you control yourself, but sometimes it's like, you're welcome. You know, of course, you know, I'm classy, so I'm not gonna get them. That's just how the mind plays out. So that's the first attachment. Attachment to the fruit. And the second attachment to the sense of being the agent. So sangam taktva, give up this sangha. So do your duty standing in yoga and give up this sangha. What does it mean to stand in yoga? Siddhi asiddho samabhutva samaton yoga uchate. To stand in yoga means to be samabhutva, with equal mind in the face of duality. Siddhi asiddha means perfection or failure. So in the course of doing duty, you're meeting with good and evil all the time, right? At your workplace, in your relationships, you meet with all levels of duality. And what usually happens is that you just go with the flow, right? They say, I'm just going with the flow. Not a good idea. All these sort of things that have become like natural, sort of like cool, like spiritual phrases. Yeah, I'm just going with the flow. But where are you flowing? Like, how's that? Where is that flow going? So sometimes the flow is anger. So yeah, I'm angry, and I'm in touch with my anger. And they say it and like make it sound like so nice. It's like, no, you're ignorant. I mean, if you ask the Bhagavad Gita, you're ignorant. Or not going with the flow of duality. If you go with the flow of duality, you'll be ever bewildered. So, siddhi asiddho samabhutva, keeping the mind equal in the face of duality. So success is coming, you're like, nice. Some failure is coming, nice. You know, you're not nice, but you're just that steadiness of mind, a sort of neutrality towards the things that happen in the material world. That doesn't mean that you're not attentive to the things that are going on, but you remain with fixed buddhi, with resolute intelligence on your objective, even though you're meeting with good and evil, success and failure and so on. Very difficult. You can practice this. Just practice it tomorrow for 1 hour if you can remember. As soon as you go outside, oh, it's cold. It was so much nicer yesterday. That would be like the first thing that comes up, isn't it? Some useless, just like sometimes you're on the train, someone's like, it's so cold. I'm like, you think we don't know that? We're also standing in the weather. But you have to say it because of being moved by duality. If you ever come to Vrindavan, sometimes it happens here in Ashram also. But it's winter time and it's cold. And then you go and turn the shower on and the water is cold. Ooh, boy. You do one of these things. You're like, wait, it's probably gonna warm up after like 1 minute. You literally wait 1 minute and then you're like and then you like turn it off and you like have like an existential crisis. You're like, okay, what should I do? Should I or should I not take a bath, So no. Samabhutva, equal-minded. Samatvam yoga uchate, such equanimity of mind, samatvam is called yoga. So this is the other element of this buddhi yoga or karma yoga. You should do your duty. You should give up sangha, which has these two parts to it. And you should be situated in yoga, which means with an equal mind in the face of duality. This is to be practiced. 249, very nice verse. And I'm covering all the bullet points here. So this 249 is one of my favorite verses. Krishna contrasts, again, this buddhi resolute intelligence and the irresolute intelligence. This is a very nice verse. Durena Yavaram Karma Buddha Yoga Dhananjaya Buddha Sharanama Vincha Kripana Palahetava. So you should keep this karma, and karma here means the karma mentioned in the material karma that he's just criticized. You should keep this far away. That acting according to desires for material world, keep that far away by Buddha yoga. In other words, apply Buddha yoga and keep that material consciousness, that material mind at bay that says you should pursue the material world for enjoyment. Keep that far away by Buddha yoga. Buddha Sharanam Avinsha. How do you do that? You should do that by taking shelter of Buddhi. Now, again, this word Buddhi, intelligence, is also the locus for knowledge. The reason I like this verse so much is that Krishna is advising us here to take shelter of our knowledge. And as I brought up several times in the course of discussing chapter 2, there's always this tension between our knowledge and our feelings. And Krishna's advising us here to take shelter of our knowledge. Ultimately, you cannot take shelter of your feelings. They do not provide shelter. The feelings just provide turmoil because they're naturally being, there's always a constant flux by the modes of nature. So they don't provide shelter. You ever felt sheltered in your emotions? Like a sense of security, or you just felt like crazy? Or feeling crazy, I should speak in the present tense. So the mind does not provide shelter. So Krishna said, Buddha Sharanamavan, take shelter of your knowledge, your buddhi. Kripana Palahetava, those who do activity, pursue the fruit, they are kripana, which means miserly persons, ignorant persons. We heard this word earlier. After that, in verse 50, Krishna speaks of a secondary result of applying this. You transcend good and evil if you apply this Buddha yoga. This is verse 50. I'm not going to go through all the things here, but one very nice statement he says here. By applying this Buddha yoga, you will transcend good and evil, or piety and impiety, which is all part of the karma bondage. So this is the same statement as 239. And he says, Tasma Yogaya Yugas, therefore you should do this yoga. Yoga karma sukoshanam, and this yoga is the art of work. The reason I like this statement is because to live life with a resolute intelligence, as Krishna is describing it, is an art. And it's something like, I always have this image of these college kids with they put the rope in between the two trees and then they walk on it. And you see some of the kids are like really good at it, and they're like, doing one of these things. And some of them are really good. They can like even flip on it or something like that. It's a great art. So to keep your intelligence resolute, not looking this way, not looking that way, but staying fixed on your objective and going across the material world, so to speak. Yoga Karma Sukoshan, this is a great art. In other words, it's not very easy to stay resolute. So he's saying this is very nice, a great art. The primary result of applying this is mentioned in 251. We're not quoting all the Sanskrit here, but you attain liberation. Padam gachanti anamaya. So the immediate result is you transcend vice and virtue. And the ultimate result is that you attain freedom from this material world. This word padam, the word padam means foot, or it can mean place. And it's very vague. A lot of the words that Krishna uses for liberation in the Gita are very, very vague. But padam gachanti anamaya, we'll come across this some more. It means liberation. So this is the final fruit of this practice. In verse 52, 53, they're the similar verse. He kind of just wraps up this practice of sadhana by saying, if you follow this, you will become completely callous to those vibrations that glorify material enjoyment. Are the ones that you've experienced in this life, or the ones that you hear about in the scriptures that you can experience in the future? You'll become completely callous to that by application of this Buddha yoga. Just like now, if someone were to say, I'll give you $1 million just to compromise one of your principles for this. I'm thinking of one of our God brothers. He was offered $1 million to shoot a gambling video for 30 seconds. 30 seconds or like 1 minute. Garanga pre-approved. He was offered $1 million to do a gambling video for just like 30 seconds or 1 minute. And he refused it because, one of our principles is not to gamble. So he didn't want to represent something that was gambling. And I remember when I heard that, I was like, ooh, it's just like a minute though. Immediately the mind was started like, I don't know, I mean, $1 million, I could get that to Krishna. And, you start making all sorts of justification. So my point I'm saying is when you hear about opportunities for enjoyment, the mind deviates. But if you apply this deeply, it says in 52 and 53, you'll become completely callous to all the concepts of enjoyment that are sitting as imprints in your mind and to all the ones that you will hear about in the future. In other words, you become liberated even while you're in the material body. And the next passage that we'll cover on Wednesday is he starts to describe the enlightened person, this sort of person who's like this. So that wraps up that passage. So I gave you all a questionnaire. You can work on it if you like. No, not if you like. You will work on it. 5. You could take about 5 or 10 minutes to work on it, and then we'll just wrap up the class with any final questions or statements. But yeah, I'd like you guys to work on it just so you can see what is going inside. And maybe at the end of the chapter, we'll have a test. You know what the test will be? It'll be all the same questions that I've already given, but without any, let's say, book or something. Just to see what you could see for yourself, what is actually going on. Just to give you an opportunity to, you could be with a friend, you could do the test with a friend or something, but just to, I could incentivize, I could incentivize you like that. Let's see, maybe there will be cheesecake if you get an A. And if you get anything less than that, no cheesecake. So please team up if you can. If you like. Oh yeah, I have 3 more here, so you can show them front and back. All right, online team. I can post a question into the chat box for the section that we've just covered, if you like. Actually, it's just 2 questions for that, and just the different parts. So the second question for this, you have to make a list. So don't just write like one sentence or something.
2 questions, the ones between 38 and 53, right?
Yeah, the ones between 38 and 53. You can double back to the other ones if you haven't done them. But we're going 38, 53. Okay, I'll try to post this question in the chat box. Let's see if it even fits. You can only post so many words at a time. Elaborate on it. Okay, this is the. That's where we are. Elaborate. Okay, this is gonna come out looking funny because I gotta figure out a more effective way of doing this online thing. I'm like tech retarded.
You should create like a Google Doc and share the link.
Can you? There must be a way to screen share on this, right? With the YouTube Live, I've seen other YouTube.
Yeah.
I gotta figure that out. Yes. Right now I'm on retard mode. This is all part of this. This is all of this is actually part of one question. Application. Okay. So these are all part of one question, and then the question number two.
Second to second.
You're no longer.
Okay. So the two questions. My friend messaged me. He said, "JJP, what was your ACT score?" I'm not telling.
I find that really hard to believe.
I do. I come off as very intelligent, but woo, boy.
You do know this SAT words.
Huh?
Tabernacle.
I actually, in all honesty, my vocabulary came after I joined the movement. I didn't have this vocabulary at all. But from reading so much Gita and Prabhupada's language even was kind of sophisticated for me. And then later on, I started reading like Srila Bhakti Siddhanta. His language is extremely sophisticated. So I was always having a dictionary next to me and learning these words. So,
Like, I think reading Gita is the first time I've ever heard or read anyone use the word concomitant.
oh, I know, right?
So I was like,
Concomitant. I was like concomitant. Concomitant. Like, how do you even say that? Yeah, concomitant, phantasmagoria. I was in the austerity. I was like, it was austerity. Like, we talk like this. Right.
Another word. Yeah.
This is so funny.
That every basically like these two are kind of stuff shows the evolution. This one I said this one's not the states. So essentially it's like
How you doing? Came out with Danielle and Kevin. I even a lone bird.
Just trying to like figure it out.
Okay. You getting ready for the test?
At first I thought you were gonna test on everything.
Yeah, it means on the final test we'll just do all the questions. Yeah. Maybe I'll give a couple of essay questions.
yeah. This is the first time that I like we're going to because I've done like this is like really that was why this atmosphere is something
Yeah, that's a good question. I was supposed to elaborate a little bit on that part. The mind has a function of basically, I like it, I don't like accepting and rejecting according to pleasure or pain or the problem with that is that we can like something that's not good for us, and we cannot like something that is good. That's why making decisions on the mind is problematic. The intelligence is equal to discernment, and it's also the locus of knowledge. So as a result, you can, for example, your mind may not like something that the intelligence says is good for you. You're sick, and the mind doesn't want to take the medicine because the medicine takes less. But the intelligence says this is good for you. Similarly, the intelligence will say this is bad for you, even though the mind said I like it. So intelligence is the faculty of discernment, and the locus for knowledge. So they have their different functions. Of course, the senses are just to take in information, basically. push their mind towards out according to likes and dislikes.
This is actually
That's always really interesting about
that,
now.
and this is something that's actually very interesting to people who have been around for many years.
Like
Right.
expecting the same thing here. There's always like, I don't know, I guess it's just
There's
like
no like
trying to find excuses to be rich sometimes. So sometimes
Right.
you're just like, I deserve to stand up to myself, right? Like you're welcome to like, I deserve to be respected or like basically understood, like your voice, you know?
Right.
Like even amongst devotees, like sometimes I like,
Show me some respect.
yeah, right? Like don't be so rude to me.
Yeah, but they can be rude to you because they don't even see you.
Yeah.
So that body concept prevails in such a mentality. We'll see what Christian means about this not being an agent. It's extremely subtle. The soul is actually to some degree an agent, so we're going to see it. Especially at the end of the Gita, Krishna summarizes by saying there are actually 5 factors of agency. And because so many of the factors of agency are material, they're not having anything to do with the soul. Therefore, Krishna said the soul is not the agent. Just like when you're playing a video game. So most of the factors of the video game are happening inside the virtual world. You exist outside of it. So you're not really the agent. Like if you're raiding in Mortal Kombat, you're not really throwing that punch. That's happening inside the virtual world. So because there's that distinction, you're not really the agent. At the same time, if you weren't playing the game, you would have no relationship with that whatsoever. So you are agent to some degree also. We'll see how Krishna, it's interesting. It's going to talk about 5 factors. This topic of agency is actually extremely complicated and redundant. They have this one book about it that's like this huge, super technical book about agency. Very boring. Even for someone like me, I was just like, and I'm kind of like a dork. But it was just like it's extremely subtle subject matter. Not so easy to. So we'll try. We'll see. Okay, we'll take another 3 minutes and conclude the class. The next passage is very nice. And we'll see that Krishna talking about the enlightenment. Jiva Yeah, of course, and that all of that is really summarized in 244. That's what we said today. And those 2 words, Boga, Aishwarya, and power. Okay, family. Ding, 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 ding. Oh, really? That was only 2 questions. Well, okay, the first one had a few parts to it. Okay, you can take 10 minutes after. We just conclude the class. Are there any final questions or comments, and if not, you can share a reflection also. Go through number 2. You want to make the list? Okay, let's hear from the rest of the audience. Let's make a list. What is the question?
What is the difference between the buddhi of the non-yogi and the yogi?
Yes, what is the difference between the buddhi of the yogi and non-yogi? What is the buddhi of the yogi? Bolo. Resolute. Vyavasa yamika buddhi ekaha, right? That is the buddhi of the yogi. And what is the buddhi of the non-yogi? Irresolute. Bahu shaka. I always joke, that doesn't even sound good. Bahu shaka. That even sounds problematic. Bahu Shaka Hyanantascha Budayo Avyavasarina. The intelligence is pulled, or Christians describe it as many branched, because it is pulled by the mind towards so many objects of enjoyment. So you cannot focus, it's impotent. That is a difference. What is the second part of the question? So you have the answer? What is the difference? Resolute versus irresolute. That is a difference. And Krishna elaborates on irresolute. How does he elaborate? 2 words. In 2 words, how does he elaborate on the irresolute intelligence? No, that is his introduction. But he elaborates on it in verses 42 through 44. But it can be summarized in 244. What is Bhoga and Aishwarya? That's how he elaborates. Soon as you have these 2 desires, then your intelligence will be irresolute. Because you'll always be searching the material atmosphere for how you can get Bhoga, enjoyment, and Aishwarya means power. So there'll be money, there'll be influence, or so many things. So that's how, as soon as you're after that, then you will be many branched intelligence, weak, impotent, buddhi. Samado navadiyate, no spiritual life for you. Nasti buddhi, ayuktasha, nachayuktasha bhavana, no meditation for you. And what is the opposite? What is the buddhi? Or how do you describe the resolute intelligence of the yogi? It's resolute, but how is that elaborated upon by Krishna? That's what we discussed today. Equanimity of mind. So he performs actions standing in yoga. And standing in yoga means to have this equanimity of mind. That's what it means to stand in yoga. You know, our devotee communities could value so much from this one verse in Bhagavad Gita. You do devotional service also standing in yoga. Do bhakti yoga standing in yoga. You will see later on Krishna has so much appreciation for this one quality. In chapter 12, when he's describing the qualities of a devotee, you'll see him talk about this equanimity of mind like in 4 verses. He really appreciates this verse. I always used to say, because only if you have this, you can be a devotee. Because devotees have to go through so much difficulty that unless you have that sort of mind, then you'll go away. As soon as there's a little bit of trouble, you're like, I just don't understand why Krishna's doing this to me. I chant 16 rounds. There's one purport in the 4th canto of the Bhagavatam where Prabhupada is saying, my foolish disciples sometimes ask me, Swamiji, how come I'm getting sick after chanting Hare Krishna? And he says, my foolish disciple doesn't realize that even his spiritual master is getting sick. So Krishna so much appreciates this quality that no, in any condition, of course, for the yogi, it's just equanimity of mind, but for the devotee, I will serve in any condition. No matter how's the saying go, hell or high water. I don't know the saying, some saying like that. Some saying like that, right? Is it like that? Huh? Come hell or high water. Stay steadfast, right? We cannot say like that right now. Hell or high water, I'm out. Peace. Peace. No dedication, no commitment, you know? So it doesn't have to be a lot of hell, just a little hell. So that is not very good. So that is one quality of the resolute. Yoga, standing in yoga. What else? Anything else?
Not being entitled to the fruits of.
Yeah, it's not going after the fruit of the work. Not looking for that. And what else? Not thinking yourself the agent. We would definitely have to hear that. Not thinking yourself the agent. So that answers the question. Is it okay, Malta? You got all the elements? Try to practice 248 tomorrow. I don't think you'll remember for the rest of the week, so just try for tomorrow. That may also not happen. But try to make a note right now, write on your hand or something. Practice 248 tomorrow. Just try it one day. One day, try to practice this. Very difficult. I hope I remember it. I'll walk outside, it's going to be cold. So 248, you practice this thing. Okay, Hari Om Tat Sat. To you all. Namaste. Hare Krishna. Lord, my message. She said, "Thank you that I have your teaching on the end, on this end of the world, and thankful that I don't have to take this test." She's the coolest. Let me end this live stream.